5 лет спустя показал, что от усилий немецких инженеров не осталось и следа. Левая стойка лобового стекла приняла почти вертикальное положение. Крыша вздыбилась домиком, порог кузова сломался и ушел влево, а внутренняя панель водительской двери беспомощно сложилась внутри смятого проема. Наружная панель отошла от основания и открыла взгляду изуродованные внутренности. Эта мощная труба – брус безопасности. Он встроен внутрь двери специально для того, чтобы помочь ей держать боковые и фронтальные удары. Такие брусья были в дверях десятки и Светогора, разбитых в ходе серии краш-тестов авторевью. Но на Нексе из-за никудышной сварки брус просто оторвался от торца двери и никак не повлиял на исход столкновения.
The final car this round, the Laganza, from Korean automaker Daewoo.
Doesn't look very good at all. In fact, it looks very bad. You see major problems in here. We've got major movement of the compartment.
Just getting inside for a closer look is a challenge. Once the door is removed, investigators discover both feet are trapped underneath the dashboard.
I'll see if I can get this leg out your way.
Dummy readings show a broken left leg and a possible head injury. We go back to the films to figure out what happened.
In this tight shot, we can see the real problems with the dummy movement. The steering column gets driven upwards, the dummy gets thrown backwards, it hits the windowsill here, there's contact here.
And this person certainly would not have walked away.
The person couldn't even crawl away because the person is trapped in the car because of the intrusion and the problems with the pedals.
The Institute gives the Daewoo Laganza its lowest grade, poor.
This is supposed to be the safety cage. There's not much that's safe about this particular cage.
What do you tell the manufacturer in a case like this?
The solution is relatively simple. It requires some sophisticated engineering, but basically they've got to make this part of the vehicle stronger and this part of the vehicle, the front end, softer to absorb the energy.
Daewoo declined our request for comment on the Institute's test.
Actually looking at more like 4 times the severity of the impact. Our sensors are showing 3 times the G's, and our wreckage is showing about twice the damage. So what's going on here? Well, just like this can, the more I crush it, the more it resists crushing. There's some complex physics going on here, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand it. The cars speak for themselves.
They certainly do. And after 2 spectacular crashes, they have their benchmarks for car carnage.
Well, we've got our data points.
And they are lovely. I guess it's time to move on to the main event.
Yep.
This car right here hit a wall at 50 miles an hour.
I can see the dust from the airbag still.
Yes, to keep away from that. It's not the nicest of stuff. You can see the pedal intrusion. The thing that concerns me here is this pedal is rigid.
Yeah.
It's absolutely solid and it's gone into the tibia.
Sort of the shin.
Just looking at the steering wheel, it's that's not so good. That lower rim has contacted the dummy's chest.
Which is why it's bent.
Yeah. To bend the rim on your ribs, it's painful.
But what about the rear passenger? On the face of it, this guy looks like he's had a better ride than this one.
Yeah.
This is the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety's front crash of the Chevrolet Aveo. The dummy hits the steering wheel through the airbag with such force, head injuries are possible. And there's another problem. In the closer shot, you'll see that after the dummy hits the airbag, its head is thrown partway out the open window. The Aveo is only rated acceptable. Here, the Aveo scores even lower, earning a marginal rating. The driver would likely suffer a broken pelvis. However, in the inside view, you can see that a side airbag deploys and it helps protect the driver's head from hitting hard surfaces that could cause serious injury. In the back seat, there is no airbag, and the dummy's head hits the side of the car and the intruding barrier.
The Hummer H3 had one of the poorest showings on a recent crash test of a mid-size sport utility vehicle. The best performer, the 2009 Nissan Murano. According to the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, The Murano was the only vehicle among 9 tested to get the highest rating in front, side, and rear crash tests.
You don't know what kind of crash you'll be in, so it's important to choose a vehicle that protects you in all kinds of crashes.
And while the Hummer H3 was among the worst of the test group, it did get an acceptable rating from the Institute. A spokesman from General Motors says the vehicle does meet or exceed all federal crash safety standards.
It's rated acceptable because forces on the dummy's right leg indicated a high risk of injury in the crash. Many midsize SUVs tested by the Institute earn a rating of good and would be a better choice for frontal crash protection.
Good.
Yep, it's cutting out.
Yep. Alright, just to keep videotaping, I'm going to make sure we get over safely.
So the instrument panel is going out, brake lights are on, traction.
This is power steering.
Power steering's out.
Some kind of traction.
Traction control's on. Fuel gauge is out. Engine's cutting out.
Alright.
RPM say 0, but the engine's still running.
And I've got no power steering.
No power steering at all. Car's jolting. Trying to accelerate, but not moving.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of no power steering. I'm gonna pull this CVS Pharmacy Percolate. It's just got
no power steering, brakes, light on, no power brakes.
Yep.
0 power brakes and 0 power steering.
It says service escape or something.
Here, go ahead and show them the. Move the steering wheel more if you can. Oh, there.
There's that traction light for some reason on. I think it's just some kind of transmission issue. So to turn it off. Keys out. Turn the key back in, try to start. And won't start.
Won't start.
There's some power steering, service escape. So take the key back out. Turn it back in.
Still no start.
Still no start. Third attempt to start. Nothing. Alright. So we'll just wait about 5 minutes.
And we'll be back.
Why I spent an inordinate amount of time on the Corvair. It is because the Corvair is an inordinately dangerous vehicle.
In the summer of 1966, a Senate subcommittee chaired by Robert Kennedy and Abraham Ribicoff held hearings on the need for auto safety regulation. Among those testifying was a young attorney named Ralph Nader, who took dead aim at a popular compact car called the Corvair. Introduced in September of 1959, the Chevrolet Corvair was the first air-cooled, rear-engine automobile mass-manufactured in the United States. The car was a hit with the public. Sleek and sporty with an innovative unit body construction, the Corvair seemed a perfect match for the effervescent mood of the emerging 60s.
It was a sort of a happy time. There was a youth market now that had a craving to have their own cars as well.
It's way ahead of its time for many reasons. It's a rear-engine car, which was a first, with an air-cooled engine in the guise or genre of Porsche automobiles. Even to this day, it had outstanding styling.
But the Corvair's rear engine contributed to a weight disparity between the front and rear ends of the car, making the Corvair unpredictable to control in sharp or sudden turns.
The rear end of the car would swing out to its left, and the car would want to be making a tighter circle, in other words, than what the driver was intending and even what the driver was perceiving. And suddenly the driver would recognize, oh my God, the rear end of the car is swinging out, and the person driving the car would hit the brakes, which would make the situation worse.
To correct the steering problem, the Corvair owner's manual specified radically different tire pressures for the front and rear wheels. 26 to 28 pounds per square inch in front, and just 15 psi in the rear. It was advice that many owners routinely overlooked. But critics like Nader claimed the Corvair's control problems were exacerbated by the car's swing axle rear suspension. During sharp cornering, it was alleged that the vertical angle of the rear wheel, or camber, would tuck under so sharply that the car was prone to a rollover.
The tucking under of one of the rear wheels, then the steel wheel rim would gouge into the pavement and would serve as a tripping mechanism.
The publicity surrounding the Kennedy-Ribicoff Senate hearings helped shift popular opinion against the Corvair and in favor of legislation to establish uniform auto safety standards. One result was the creation of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, to set regulations for passenger vehicles, trucks, and school buses sold in the United States.
The legislation that came about from these congressional hearings said to the auto industry, you cannot any longer make and market whatever you feel like, but there have to be federal safety standards to which you must comply in each vehicle that you intend to sell to the public.
In 1966, the year of the Senate hearings, sales of Corvairs dropped dramatically. But the demand for smaller, fuel-efficient vehicles continued to grow.
Toyota Sienna did better overall in Insurance Institute crash tests than any other vehicle tested, ever.